So I have a confession. Even though I'm 74 years old, I still don't know what I really, really want to be, because there are so many opportunities for older adults now. John talked about some of them, and so did Kevin McIntyre. So how do we make sense of it all? Enter the dream team of Chantal Pelham-Edwards and Joel Stoddart. Chantal is passionate about showcasing the contributions of older adults. She's worked for the government of Nova Scotia in the departments of economic development, environment, and seniors. And she's a serial volunteer in her community in St. Margaret's Bay. Joel Stoddart is a business counselor with the Acadia Entrepreneurship Center. He helps clients discover and pursue their vision, both professionally and personally. And he served on boards for music, the environment, and home care. And he's the founder of 100 Men Who Give a Damn. Please welcome the dream team, Chantal Pelham-Edwards and Joel Stoddart.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Helena. And Joel and I have never been introduced as the dream team, so we're going to request that from now on, because I think that that sounds really great. And we're so pleased to be here and to be part of the summit. And certainly want to send out a really special thank you to the Department of Seniors and the Acadia Entrepreneurship Center for all the work that has gone into putting on this event. Certainly want to thank the exhibitors. As a former conference organizer, I know that without exhibitors, events like this just do not happen, even in this altered way that we are connecting. And a special thank you to Helena and Adam, the tech guy, who are keeping everything running smoothly, and really have appreciated their work leading up to the event. And today I've been on all morning, and it's been really great. Really enjoyed the presentations, and the flow of everything has been super. And yes, as Helena mentioned, Joel and I are here to talk to you about a program that we're really passionate about called the Redefining Retirement Program. And yeah, we hope that it enables folks to explore opportunities and find what fits best for them in terms of moving on to that next stage of life. So we thought we'd start off with this. This is the American Sign Language symbol for retirement. And when we first found this, the first thought that came to my mind was, it looks like she's actually crossing her fingers. And we hope that folks that participate in our Redefining Retirement program won't need to cross their fingers, but will be able to work together to find and identify their goals and ways to achieve them. So here we are the facilitators here today. We are also part of the team of facilitators that deliver the Redefining Retirement program. And in the words of Dr. Bryanton earlier this morning, we are wannabe older adults. We're not quite there yet. We're not retired. We're probably not retiring anytime soon, unless we do win that lottery. And most importantly, we're not part of the Redefining Retirement program to tell anyone what they should do. Our role is really to hold this space and enable folks to go through a reflective process to identify what's best for them. So the program initially was developed a number of years ago. In 2018, folks in the Acadia Entrepreneurship Center and folks from my company called Third Sector Enhancement got together, and we thought about what could we do? How could we be supporting older adults? And we initially came up with the idea of developing a program that would support folks who wanted to start a business. And we sort of loosely termed this seniorpreneurship. And there were a couple issues that we identified with that. One, that not a lot of folks really liked the term senior. And two, that even the term entrepreneur kind of had a challenging connotation in certain circles. And the other being that starting a business was really just one small component of how folks might want to spend their time in the next stage of life. And that really the sky's the limit in terms of what they'd like to do. And I wrote this down from Dr. Bryanton this morning, who was just really inspirational. You don't have to work to contribute. And I thought that was really powerful. And we talk about that with our participants, that there are so many ways to contribute to communities and to the economy, to be supporting folks around you. There's so many different ways to do that. And through the Redefining Retirement program, we help folks to identify what ways are most authentic and meaningful for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Chantal. And hello out there, everyone. And a special hello. I noticed as I was scrolling through the list, there are some folks out here that I used to work with in home care. I worked in home care for about 4.5 years, and I see some folks there that I haven't seen in a while. So nice to virtually see you all. So back in 2018, as Chantal alluded to, we started down this journey of trying to ask some questions and design a program. But before we designed the program, we asked the questions. We went out and polled several hundred older adults and found some useful information about what they wanted, what they thought, what they felt, what would be useful for them and what wouldn't. And we came up with this big idea called Redefining Retirement. And the big idea is simply to make it easier for people 55 plus to deploy and redeploy their skills, assets, resources, and experience within their communities for the betterment of themselves, their neighbors, their communities, and the economy, to help them find purpose and passion on their terms. And you've noticed that I've got a couple of words highlighted there. One is 55 plus, and I can't miss calling out the elephant in the room that it's always dangerous to draw a hard line in the sand age-wise in terms of what is and isn't an older adult. We generally use this 55 plus age as a general reference point, but we've had people participate in this program as youthful, I suppose, as late 40s and going all the way up till early 80s. So we really have had a diverse group participate. The other thing that I want to mention here, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, is just communities. When we say communities in this context of this program, we're not just talking about communities geographically, which is how most of us, or at least I myself, have been inclined to think of the term community. We're talking about communities of interest, communities of purpose, and that can mean a whole bunch of other things, which may or may not include your geographic community. So that's the big idea. And the what's in it for you is through this program, you will decide how you want to become engaged with your community based on an open and honest reflection of your skills, interests, passions, values, your needs, your family's needs, and the community's needs. There's no judgment. I would be remiss if I didn't point out here that this is very much an uplifting and a fun program, but it is a program that requires work. There is some rolling up your sleeves that goes into your participation in this program. It's always a little bit difficult, or if you're anything like me, to dig deep, to reflect on who you are, what skills you have, what interests you have, or things you might have missed and opportunities that you might have missed along the way. So there is work involved. That being said, it is a fun program, and Chantal will talk a little bit more about how the program actually works in just a moment. But that's what's in it for you. That's what we're hoping that you can come out with. So I'm going to try a new share. A couple of years ago when we got this going, we came up with a little bit of a video to describe the origin of the program and to sort of see it through. And you'll have to forgive the tenor of the narrator's voice is a little bit on the chirpy or on the cheerful side, maybe a little bit overly. But we're going to show the video and see if that will work out here.
Is both a movement and a program. It's about changing the way Nova Scotians think about aging, retirement, and older adulthood. Our population of older adults is growing and needs to be recognized for being key drivers of economic and social prosperity in our province. Here are a few things we know about older adults in Nova Scotia. The first of the baby boomers have now turned 70. By 2030, 1 in 4 Nova Scotians will be 65 or older. There are 1.35 seniors for every child in Nova Scotia, while the Canadian average is 1.01 senior per child. Older adults offer knowledge, skills, experiences, and connections that help people and communities thrive. The vision for the Redefining Retirement program is driven by Nova Scotia's Shift Report, which envisions a future where, together, Nova Scotians value, promote, and support older adults and their contributions to our province. So if you're an older adult looking for a way to engage with your community, we want to hear from you. Together, we'll explore the world of opportunities before you. We'll help you answer questions like, how can I stay involved in my community? How can I contribute to my local economy? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? How can I be more purposeful? How can I think more like an entrepreneur? Through the Redefining Retirement program, older adults will be empowered to find renewed purpose and connect with their communities in new and exciting ways. They'll build new relationships, start businesses, launch social enterprises, identify new volunteer opportunities, tackle community challenges, reinvest capital, mentor youth, contribute to existing businesses and community groups. If you'd like to join our program or our movement, visit www.redefiningretirement.ca. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Redefining Retirement Program. This program is sponsored by the Province of Nova Scotia and presented by the Acadia Entrepreneurship Centre and Third Sector Enhancement.
So thank you for, hopefully everybody could hear that okay. I know it was a little, some of the print was a little bit small, but you get the idea. One of the things that you might have picked up on if you were paying close attention, and I know there are some folks in the audience today who have actually participated in the program and completed it already, is that the logo for this program appears to be a series of 4 intersecting circles. But there's actually a little bit more to it than that. That series of intersecting circles is a Venn diagram representing something called the Ikigai. And the Ikigai is something that came out of the Heian period in Japan over 1,000 years ago now, and has really been popularized in Japan over the last 100 years in particular. It's a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. And we happened upon this when we were doing the research for this program, really liked it, embedded it in the program. And what the Ikigai is and we're not going to go through the whole diagram here, it's probably a bit much. What we're really trying to help people find is the intersect between what they love to do, what the world needs, what they can be paid for or otherwise rewarded for, and what they're good at. And at each one of these different stages, depending on where you are on this map, you're probably finding a slightly different experience in your life. And as Chantal alluded to, we're not here to tell you where in the Ikigai you are or necessarily even where you need to be, although in theory, everyone's trying to sort of move towards the middle where all 4 of those circles intersect. But you do see this, does feature throughout our program to a fair degree. And I thought I would share it with you for those of you who haven't heard of that, as we hadn't heard of that before. So I'm going to pass it back to Chantal, and Chantal's going to take us through some of the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Joel. And for anyone who's interested, if you Google or look on YouTube for Ikigai, there is lots of really great information that you can find, and you can certainly get lost down lots of rabbit holes looking up Ikigai. So in terms of some history of the program, as we've mentioned before, it is a joint initiative between Joel's organization, the Acadia Entrepreneurship Centre, and my company, which is called Third Sector Enhancement, which actually is an intergenerational organization, that business that I started with my dad, Chris Pelham. And we brought the idea to the Department of Seniors in 2018 and said we'd like to develop a program that would enable older adults across the province, with a bit of a focus on folks in rural areas, to really identify what their goals are, for their next stage of life, and to help them make some action plans to achieve that. And one of the outcomes could be starting a business, it could be volunteering, it could be working with their family, it could be supporting a social enterprise, it could be mentoring. The sky is really the limit. And this was something that we felt that would support the implementation of the shift report, which was referenced earlier in the video. And if you want more information on the shift report, you can certainly find that on the Department of Seniors website. So we spent some time developing the program, and we piloted the program and delivered it over the course of 2 years in 2018 and 2019 in 6 different communities. And you see them listed there: Yarmouth, St. Margaret's Bay, Windsor, Liverpool, Truro, and Berwick. We had approximately 100 people come through the program and sort of graduate from the program. And as Joel mentioned, the definition of older adult, we made that sort of a loose 55 plus definition, but really we did welcome folks from a variety of ages. Primarily our participants were between 60 and 70 years of age, but we did have folks who were quite a bit younger and older as well. And again, we're quite clear in the programming that we are not experts in retirement. Our job is to develop some activities and some really food for thought to enable participants, individual participants, to identify what the next best stage is. So it's really a choose your own adventure type of activity. So what are the workshops like? They're a combination of some individual reflection. So there is quite a bit of time where folks are asked to consider some of the exercises that we've created and to make some notes for their own initial reflections. Then we send them off into small groups to discuss the results of their reflection in a relatively small and safe space. And then we have some full group discussions. We certainly try to keep it as fun and lively and interactive as possible. Of course, our in-person programming happened prior to COVID, so we really did try to get people moving around and interacting, getting to know the different folks that were in the room with them. We do try to push people a little bit out of their comfort zone, because that's really where some really amazing learning takes place, and some really great aha moments take place as well. We do hope that folks will meet new people and establish some relationships. I know that there have been some relationships that have continued on since the first bit of programming, which is really gratifying for us to see. There's generally 2 of us in the session, so we're always able to have someone working with the main group if there's another person or a smaller group that would like some support separately. And we do encourage people to only share as much as they're comfortable sharing. So the program has 5 different modules. So we come together 5 different times, and it really sort of follows on the building blocks of this redefining retirement concept. So our first module, when we come together, we talk about why my retirement matters. We get to know each other. We get to have a sense of who else we're in the room with. We start some initial personal reflection, and we introduce that concept of the ikigai, which we revisit over the program. Over the course of the program, we keep going back to that concept and sort of checking in with where we are on the ikigai and where we thought we might be. Module number 2, Who I Am Matters, is an opportunity to really delve deeper into some personal reflection. And it's a great opportunity to take stock of who you are, the experiences and the skills and the networks and the connections that have brought participants to the present day. We talk about who you were, who you are, and who you want to be. We talk about rewards. What kind of rewards are important to you? How do you gain satisfaction? It's really an opportunity for people to think about all those different components that have made them who they are today. We've heard from participants who have said, you know, I've never spent time thinking about myself in this way. I've been so busy running a business, raising a family, volunteering in my community, working, doing all those things that kind of prevent us from having that time to think about ourselves. So module 2 is really important in that it gives folks the time and space to do that. In module 3, we start talking about communities, and Joel alluded earlier to the fact that there are so many different communities that we are all a part of. And we'll talk about that a little bit more with a bit of an exercise that we'll ask you to do regarding communities. But we spend time in module 3 thinking about the different types of communities that you are a part of, and how your connection to that community is your connection to that community in alignment with what you would like it to be. In module 4, we start to pull together all of these components into the development of a personal vision for your retirement. And we start working on that personal vision really on the first day, the first module. And when we get to module 4, we're bringing it all together right into a clearer focus. And then module 5, the last time that we gather, is about action planning. So we take all the information and all the work that we've done previously and say, okay, now what's next? What do I do tomorrow? Now that I've done all this work, what are my next steps and how can I be successful? So we work on developing an action plan to enable folks to leave the workshop, leave our program, and really start off on a great foot the next day. Just thought that this was a bit of a fun slide. These are some folks who have participated previously in the program and have graduated. In one of the pictures in the top left there is actually my business partner, Chris Pelham, who is also one of the facilitators of the program. And as we were delivering the program, he realized he was actually also being a bit of a participant. He had retired from a previous role, and the work that we do together is a bit of a part-time job for him, or part-time work for him. So he brings some really great reflections, and he's also able to connect in personally with folks who might be needing a little bit of extra support or would like a further conversation. And he certainly brings that lived experience.
Great. Thank you, Chantal. So we're sort of on the home stretch here, and in the time that we have left, we thought we would take you through a very, very short snippet of a much larger exercise, which is one of many exercises that we run through in the program, called My Retirement Canvas. And I know that that's too small for everybody to see, and it's kind of at this point intended for it to be that way anyway. But for those of you who play in the business development sphere or orbit, if that's any of you, you might recognize this canvas as looking very similar to something called the Lean Canvas or the Business Model Canvas, which is sort of a business planning approach. And we adapted this for the Redefining Retirement program, and it has 9 boxes, for lack of a better, fancier word. And the 9 boxes include my values in retirement, key skills, featured players in my retirement. So we have some exercises around not only who are you and what skills do you have, but who do you wish to feature prominently in your retirement years. My retirement vision statement. We have communities I belong to, communities I want to join, unexplored passions. And then we have at the very bottom, you can probably see the big dollar signs. We have key retirement expenses and key retirement sources of income. So we spend a fair bit of time playing with a lot of these different boxes and trying to get folks to think about what belongs in them relevant to that particular person. And what we're going to do here, and you can see this a little bit bigger, hopefully now, is we're going to take 2 to 3 minutes max. And hopefully some of you have a pen and paper if we're still doing that sort of old school stuff. And what we're going to do is this. We're going to ask you to spend a couple of minutes brainstorming on your own, for your own purposes, one of these 3 boxes. So you can either brainstorm communities that you belong to. So it says list all the distinct communities you belong to now and those you've belonged to over the years. Communities I want to join, list the communities you'd like to join or belong to, and unexplored passions or unexplored passions. So list any and all ideas, hobbies, recreational activities, or volunteer engagements you might like to explore during your retirement. And just as you set out to do that, I'm going to just share a couple of examples, because this idea of communities sometimes doesn't come as second nature to everyone. Since we're often used to thinking of it as a geographic region. So for example, if I were completing this communities I belong to box for myself, I might put things in it like Barrington Municipal High School alumni as a community that I belong to, or Acadia alumni, or Cape Sable Island expats, or I might say the church, or I might belong to the dad community or the parent community, or the running community, or the Toronto Maple Leafs fan community, the local business community, and a whole bunch of other things that are arguably the types of communities or groups that I am somehow in some way attached to. And what we find when we do this exercise with the larger groups in the program is that they start out with one or two and it becomes fairly difficult. Once they start rolling, they start to think of all kinds of communities they've belonged to over the years and some that they might want to reconnect with as they go forward. So we're going to take 2 minutes to do that. Let's take 2 minutes silently, and I'm not sure you have a choice in that matter. I think it kind of has to be silently given where we're at. Take a pen, take a paper, see what you can come up with if you want to list communities you belong to or unexplored passions, and we'll pick up the ball in 2 minutes. And as folks participate in that, my original plan was to have some folks share some of these in the chat box that I'm not seeing. So I'm thinking maybe there is no chat function or feature enabled, and that's okay. If nobody else has that, that's okay.
There is Joel, there is a chat feature.
Okay.
And I'm just seeing, I think there's 4 comments in the chat box.
Okay. Perhaps it's just my screen here. I'm not.
Yeah. But anyways.
That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's take.
I got you on the line. We've got 5 minutes in the session before we go to questions. So
Sure.
I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Before I get the suggestive elevator music to wrap up.
It's the Academy Award.
That's right. It's the high class stuff.
High class. We're a high class act.
That's right. So we'll just take another minute and 20 seconds or so to give you a chance to scribble out some of your responses to these things. And if anybody is interested, as you keep going with that, if anybody is interested in having access to this, you are welcome to it. Please connect with Chantal or myself, the Dream Team. Or if you wish to connect with Leanne or Helena or anybody else involved with the summit, we will make sure that this canvas finds its way to you. Okay, we'll pause there. Please keep going with that exercise if you wish. We will do a little bit of a dart to the finish here. We're almost at the end of our slide deck anyway, but we thought we'd take a quick second. What are people saying? What have people said about this program? Before I participated in it, I thought of retirement as an end to working, staying home, and not doing much of anything new. Now I view retirement as a transition to the next phase of life. I'm not sure exactly how I'll spend my retirement years, but I look forward to beginning something new. Kudos to the government department, that would be the Department of Seniors, for sponsoring this, well planned and facilitated. I think this is an excellent program for older adults at any level of readiness for retirement. We have heard that before. Oh no, that's for somebody else. I'm not quite there. I'm tinkering and I'm not sure of what I want to do. That's the precise reason to be involved in this program to begin with. Very personable and open facilitators, very respectful, pushing you along in the process kindly and gently with lots of guidance, and a great investment of our time. You guys did an awesome job. So what do you do if you are interested? If you have heard this presentation and you think that might be something I would like to participate in, we have 2 things coming up for you. We have a summit follow-up workshop coming up on June 23rd. It will be a 2-hour, very likely in the morning. The time will be established very soon. June 23rd, 2021, if you would like to kind of get a glimpse or a teaser of what the full program is like. And then the full program will roll out again in the fall of 2021, dates to be determined on that front. And that information will be forwarded to you in the follow-up correspondence from the summit. And we'll just end on this note. The very last thought here is that when we did this program in Berwick, there was somebody who stood up at the very end of the very last session and had sort of a eureka moment and said, I get it now. And what she said was, I've always been looking at this word retire as an unhyphenated word. And I now have come to understand retire as a hyphenated word, with the metaphor being that the idea here is to take off the tread war tires that perhaps we have been using, and to retire, put new tires on, and prepare for the laps ahead. And she said, I finally see that now. And she shared that with the group, and it really stuck with a lot of people. And we sort of posed that as the ultimate question for everybody here. Will it be retire, or will it be re/tire? So thank you, everyone. I haven't gotten my music yet, so I think I'm just under time. Thank you. We'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Boy, that was a lot of information. And I learned a new word, and I love it. Ikigai. So I'm just thinking, icky and guy. I'm going to remember that. A reason for being. That is fantastic. So when you showed us on the last screen when the next sessions are going to be, how do we find that? Do we actually go on a website or call someone? You know, I mean, I don't know, Joel or Chantal, who'd like to just tell me, please?
The golden rule is one that we have failed here, which is to show your website at the end of the presentation. But yes, there is a website. It is redefiningretirement.ca. Which you can access that way. If you wish to just Google redefining retirement, we will very likely be the first result that will come up. And that will have, it doesn't have it yet, but it will in the coming days or weeks. And as I said, this will also be circulated with the post-summit wrap-up information.
So how, what's the biggest finding that you've had from the big, from the big idea that you talked about earlier? Chantal, maybe you can speak to that. Pardon me.
Yeah, I think as much as anything, it's that people really appreciated the opportunity to spend some time thinking about them and who they are and what they want to do and how they can do it. And in particular, there was we had a couple join us in the Liverpool session, a husband and a wife, and the husband didn't come back after the first session, but the wife did. And she said, I love my husband, wonderful relationship, no, nothing concerning there. But she said, I have really sort of lived my life in partnership with my husband, and I have enjoyed a lot of the things that he has enjoyed, and we do a lot of the very similar same things together. But I'm realizing now that I have an opportunity, now that my kids are grown and I'm no longer working every day, I can actually explore myself, and I can explore what I want and how I can contribute and what I can do. And I think that's what we took away from a lot of the programming, is that people have an opportunity to think about who they are and what they want to do. And many people haven't had that opportunity and haven't given themselves that time to do that.
If I could just add to that very quickly, I would say
Yes.
Another discovery is just how many folks from different walks of life, by whether it be by region or by socioeconomic status or wherever they happen to be, have come into this program and melded together so nicely. We have had folks from all walks of life, and some folks who have expressed to us in advance, I don't know if I belong here, and that's a hard thing to hear. But we have been overwhelmed in a positive way by just how much this experience with retirement, or the retirement years, or the alleged retirement years, is a common experience and that cuts across all kinds of different backgrounds.
When they say, I don't belong here, what are they referring to?
I think it's a good question. I think what they're generally referring to is this sense that a lot of folks have that everybody else kind of knows what they're doing with their retirement, but I'm the one who doesn't know, and therefore I'm not ready, or I'll be embarrassed, or I will somehow, everyone will have a plan and I won't have a plan and they'll see it. And I think it really kind of cuts to that. And I can't express enough how much that is not the case. And even if it were the case, it's a very non-judgmental group.
And Chantal, is there like, give me a sense of, first of all, how long have you had this program, this wonderful program, and what the success rate is? So let's just speak to how long this has been going on.
Sure. So we delivered programming in 2018 and 2019. 2020 took us by surprise, and we yeah, that's right. It took the world by surprise, and we were not untouched in that way. And we are looking at how we can continue to deliver programming and sort of what the best model or method is. In terms of success, one of the exercises that we do with folks is at the last session, we ask them to write a letter to themselves that they will receive in 6 months. So 6 months from that day, we send them a letter, and we don't read the letter. The letter is a personal thing, but we ask them to think about, where do you hope you are in 6 months? What do you hope that you have worked on, or you have considered or moved forward on, or whatever their goals are? And so, we give them that opportunity to have that reflection point. We do some surveying of our participants following the programming, and how have you moved forward? We certainly do have some folks who have started businesses as a result of the program, which is really wonderful. We have folks who have identified how they want to volunteer. We've had some folks who have said, you know what, I'm doing way too much. And certainly, as someone who does a lot of community work, I know that there are some folks out there who, as you said, are serial volunteers and needed to actually downsize and realign their contribution to community so that they could more enjoy themselves. So, really, it's a really varied goal. So in typical facilitation, you're working with the group to try to come to a common understanding or a common agreement. In this program, we're working with a group of really diverse folks and helping them to identify what success means for them, and enabling that to happen.
Beautiful. I love the concept of the letter. I've done that before, and that is so powerful. When you get that letter 6 months later, and go, oh my gosh, did I say that? I've got some questions. So I've got one from Jacqueline Campbell. I wonder why this approach, Ikigai, has or hasn't been used with younger generations planning their continuing education and career. Do you know if it is?
I think it probably, I mean, the Ikigai, probably not. Some other iteration of that same concept probably has. I mean, we've used, what we found in the Ikigai was something that we had kind of danced around and used different words to describe and different activities to sort of get to that same sort of end, but we never thought about it as sort of the four intersecting circles, and it really just kind of drove it home. So probably, I mean, my guess would be that youth probably have in some way, shape, or form. It just probably wasn't that particular model. Yeah. I don't know, Chantal, if you have any thoughts.
Not really, other than that. I think I do think it's a really valuable concept, and I think it's a really valuable thing to sort of reflect back on when you're in different stages of life. So one of the exercises we have is to ask folks, where have you been on the Ikigai? Where are you now? Where would you like to be? And the answer isn't always in the center. People think, oh, well, if I'm in the center, everything is perfect. Well, that's not always the case for everybody. So, I think it's interesting for folks to sort of reflect back on it over a period of time.
Exactly. 2 more questions to get in. Do you see a partnership? This is from Paul Garin. Do you see a partnership with organizations like Community Living health districts or senior groups in various communities?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we certainly would be interested in having discussions about any kind of partnerships. And we've been really fortunate in the communities that we have been into that we've worked with various networks in those communities. But looking at more established partnerships is certainly something that we would really appreciate a conversation about.
Yeah, for sure. Right? So from Ina, have you suggested your program to the provincial government as a pre-retirement course?
Yes, actually. So thanks, Ina. And I think Ina and I might have worked together in a previous period when I worked in the government. And yes, we're in sort of initial conversations with that, and that's been supported by the Department of Seniors.
I would add to that, Chantal, just quickly, that so much of the origin of this program, when we remember I said that we polled about 300 older adults in researching this program. And one of the things we kept hearing is all the retirement stuff, all the retirement planning and seminars and webinars are just about money. And there's not that other side of it. And we need the other side of it. So we kind of went out and created the other side of it. And yeah, we have pitched that not only to government, but we've also pitched it to, or at various stages of pitching it to corporations and larger employers and all that sort of stuff, as well as something that they can have and can offer to their employees.
Yeah, and a final question from Paul Javan again. Will you eventually look at having this listed on www.ns.211.ca?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to think really quickly. At one point, I think it may have been, and if it's not, then that is something for us to check in on. So I appreciate that, Paul.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Lots of wonderful information that you can use. I love the sound of the course. I'm going to check out, I'm going to get lost in Ikigai after the end of the summit, just because I love the word so much and actually try and find out where I am in that. So Joel and Chantal, thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.